Her world ended in fire and hunger, but a human's final meal lit a new flame asterisk. He was supposed to be cargo. But she opened the crate and found a man too big for her world. The Zentari pleasure fleet had strict rules. No humans, no exceptions. And yet, standing in the center of her cargo bay, Commander Alec Hythery stared at the very thing she wasn't supposed to see. A man, human, naked, very naked. Lean muscles, tanned skin, eyes full of mischief. And not a hint of shame. His name was Jack Rourke. He looked her up and down, still leaning casually against the wall of the open crate, completely at ease. "You got a towel, sweetheart? Or are you just gonna keep staring?" Alla blinked. She'd led military campaigns, negotiated treaties, fought pirates in zero gravity, but this was new. She ordered her guards out. She needed answers, fast. Jack stepped down from the crate, still bare as a moonbeam. "I was headed to Titan Station. Woke up in a box surrounded by scented pillows and pink lighting. I'm guessing. This isn't a cargo run for fresh fruit." "You were smuggled onto a Zentari diplomatic cruiser," she said, voice tight. "That's punishable by sterilization. Or worse, sterilization." Jack winced. "Lady, that's a tragedy waiting to happen." She tried not to look at him, tried and failed. He was tall, even by Zentari standards, and built differently, broader, denser. Everything about him looked like it had evolved to lift, fight, survive. Even his lower parts, larger than Zentari males, and noticeably unbothered by the cold air of the bay. She cleared her throat. "You'll be confined to quarters until I decide what to do with you." He raised his hands in mock surrender. "As long as there's food and pants, I'm a happy prisoner." Alla didn't realize it then, but her life had already changed. She'd been bred for service, tall, graceful, silver-skinned, and sharp-minded.
The Zentari.
Women led fleets, commanded planets, but they're men. They were smaller, delicate, designed more for elegance than endurance. They made good company, just not good partners. Jack was something else entirely. He didn't ask for permission. He didn't bow, he joked, he flirted, cooked badly. But he laughed when he burned things and kept trying. When she scolded him, he smiled wider. One night, during a solar delay near the Orion Rift, he brought her something he called spaghetti. It was mostly paste and protein, but it made her smile. "See? You like Earth food," he said proudly. "I like watching you try," she replied. Later that week, he kissed her. It wasn't protocol. It wasn't planned. It just happened. Stepped into the command deck, barked a report, and he pulled her close, eyes locked on hers. "If I'm getting spaced for kissing the prettiest woman in the quadrant," he whispered, "then make it worth it." She should have pushed him away. She didn't. The kiss was heat and tension, sparks and surprise. She kissed back hard. Ship felt different after that. Her steps lighter, her crew confused. And Jack, he seemed proud of himself, like he'd just hacked an alien security system with charm and a grin. And yet, there was something else, something deeper. He listened. He noticed. When she had nightmares, memories of the war on Varkan Prime, he didn't speak, just held her hand until she stopped shaking. He wasn't just a man, was solid, present. The med drone ran a scan once out of curiosity, Alla claimed. It beeped, ran diagnostics, then froze. Subject's primary reproductive organ is 314% larger than Zentari median, it said flatly. Jack nearly choked on his drink. La didn't meet his eyes for the rest of the day, but that night she came, to his quarters. And she didn't knock. Their first time wasn't graceful. There was laughter, awkward positioning, a snapped support beam. But by morning, she was curled against him, legs tangled, heart steady. He kissed her shoulder and whispered, "Still worth the sterilization?" She smiled. "More than you know." He kept it quiet, at least for a while. Love is hard. To hide on a ship with 300 crew members and only 3 bathrooms? When the Zentari High Council found out, they summoned her. Demanded she return, end it, purge the bond, and reclaim her honor. She looked them in the eye and said, "My honor isn't broken. It's just finally mine." She left the fleet, took a small ship. Jack went with her, of course. Years later, they settled on a green moon in the Dreven Belt, built a house, raised crops, and eventually a child, half human, half Centauri. Trouble. The galaxy still whispered about the commander who fell for a human stowaway, but Ayla didn't care. She had Jack, he had her, and no crate in the stars could contain what they'd built together. Asterisk. The mornings on Velis 9 were always quiet. Jack stood shirtless on the ridge behind the house, looking out over the misty valley. The crops were growing again, purple leaf. Tubers, sharproot, spice plants, and that one earth tomato clone that kept trying to die no matter how much he sang to it. Ayla said it was because he didn't believe in it. Jack said it was because it hated him personally. Behind him, the front door hissed open. "You're up early," Ayla said, stepping barefoot onto the deck. She wore one of his shirts again, way too big, sleeves rolled, hem brushing her thighs. Her silver skin glowed in the sunrise. Jack turned, smiling. "Couldn't sleep. Your daughter kicked me in the ribs." Twice, Ayla chuckled. "She could say that from me." "Oh, I know. I've got the bruises to prove it." Inside, soft footsteps padded across the floor. A tiny voice called out, "Mom." The food fabricator made green cubes again. "They taste like burnt socks." Ayla sighed. "I told you not to let her override the nutritional matrix." "She said it was an experiment," Jack said. "She's 4. She scares me." They both laughed. Life here wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. Later that afternoon, Jack took a walk into the village, or what passed for a village on a colony world this remote. A few scattered homes, one solar well, and an old maintenance drone that had been converted into a rolling sandwich. Cart, the locals called it Lunchbot. Jack once reprogrammed it to play old Earth country music. Now it delivered ham sandwiches with a twang as he walked past. Lunchbot wheeled after him and asked in a static voice, "Hey there, partner. You fixing to rustle up some brisket today?" Jack pointed at it without turning. "One more dolly. Parton song, and I'm pulling your battery?" The machine beeped. "Understood." Jack found who he was looking for near the solar junction, a scruffy ex-miner named Korak with more missing teeth than functional limbs. Korak had once tried to sell Jack a genuine alien love potion made from fermented cactus juice. Jack drank it out of curiosity. His tongue was numb for 3 hours, and Ayla didn't speak to him for 2 days. "You got another delivery?" Korak said, tapping a dusty crate beside him. From the outer ring, no label, no ID. Jack frowned. "That's not good." Opened it carefully, hand on his stun knife, just in case. Inside was a datapad. No message, just a blinking symbol. The Centauri seal. Not the friendly kind, the old kind. Military caste. High Council. He took it home that night, didn't say anything at dinner. Ayla noticed, of course. "You're quiet," she said. "Yeah, just tired." She waited then, after their daughter was asleep. She walked into the living room and set the datapad down between them. "You don't hide things from me, Jack." "I wasn't," he said slowly. "I was. But thinking how to say it without scaring." She sat, folded her legs under her, waited. "They found us," he said, "not the council. Worse, the breeding directive." Allah's face didn't move, but her hand curled slightly. "They want the child," he continued. "They always did. Half-human genetics, natural conception. She's a miracle to them, or a lab rat." "They won't get her," Ayla said flatly. "I know." Jack leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "But we can't stay here. If they found this world, they'll scan for life signatures, thermal trails, ship pings. It's only a matter of time." She nodded once. "I'll pack." Jack looked at her then. Really looked. No panic, no tears. Just fire. "You still don't regret choosing me?" he asked, voice quiet. Ayla stood, crossed to him, and cupped his face in her hands. "I didn't choose you once, Jack. I choose you every day." Their lips met, soft and warm. The kiss of two people who had been through storms and fire, and still chose each other. That night, they packed everything that mattered: clothes, photos, Ayla's old Zentari blade, the child's drawing, tablet. Jack loaded their daughter gently into a carry sling, whispering, "It's another adventure, kiddo. You'll love it." New stars, new trouble. Alla piloted the old skiff through the lower clouds, fingers steady on the controls. Jack sat beside her, staring out at the thinning atmosphere. "I heard once," said, "that the bigger the risk, the better the reward." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that a human saying?" "No, that was me just now. Write it down." "Gonna start a book?" she smiled. "Wondering if chapter 1 is about how you seduced your commander by being smuggled in a crate." He grinned. "Hey, I had no idea you'd be the one opening it." "Fate, baby." She rolled her eyes, but her smile didn't fade. They hit orbit. Their daughter stirred, blinked up sleepily. "Are we flying again?" Jack kissed her forehead. "We never stopped, Starlight." Allah locked into course uncharted sector. Free colony, no ties to the Zentari network. It wasn't just about running, it was about living. On their terms, as the stars stretched before them, Jack leaned back, his arm around Ayla, his daughter in his lap, no matter what galaxy they landed. And he already had everything he needed, and the crate. Well, she never let him live that down. Asterisk. The stars outside the viewport shimmered like falling glass as the ship coasted into deep space. No lights, no signals, no pursuit yet. Inside the cockpit, Jack reclined in the co-pilot's seat, chewing on a protein stick that tasted vaguely like old furniture. "This stuff always tastes like insulation foam?" he asked. Alla didn't look away from the controls. "That is insulation foam. You grabbed the wrong pack." He froze, mid-chew. "Oh." She gave him a sideways glance. "Swallow it, and you're stuck in medbay for 3 hours. Spit it out, and I won't tell the kid." Jack leaned toward the waste bin and let gravity do the work. From the back of the skiff, their daughter, half asleep on a makeshift bunk, stirred and mumbled, "Daddy ate ship parts again." Jack pointed at Ayla. "She gets the sass from you." Alla smug. Let the silence prove him right. They traveled for 3 standard days, chasing gravity wells and dark routes that didn't show on official charts. No signals, no traces. That's what they needed. Freedom. But even freedom had a price. On day 4, the heating coil sputtered. Jack dropped down into the maintenance crawl space, muttering curses in 3 languages and 2 dialects Alla didn't. "Want to understand?" His voice echoed from below. "Didn't I say we needed to replace this whole thing back on Velis?" "You also said the solar oven you built could bake bread in 6 minutes," she replied. "It caught fire." "I like crunchy bread. You like chaos." He popped his head up, face smudged with soot, arms glistening with sweat. A tool clamped between his teeth. "You saying you didn't fall for this chaos?" he asked through the wrench. She didn't answer, just stared at him, that mouth, that smirk, those shoulders. He was ridiculous, loud, infuriating, and so very hers that night. After the child was asleep, Ayla brought out a datapad, Human Zentari biology scan log. I finally decrypted it. Jack raised an eyebrow. "What's it say? I'm the father of 1,000 alien babies and don't know it?" "No," she said dryly, "but it does explain a few things." "Like what?" Alla sat beside him, showing the pad. "Your physiology triggers overactive hormonal responses in Zentari females. Not just attraction, bonding instincts, emotional, anchoring. Accelerated neurochemical imprinting." Jack blinked. "I'm chemically irresistible." Ayla gave him a flat look. "You're walking biological sabotage." He leaned in, smiling. "Tell that to your bonding instincts." "I do. Daily. They ignore me." Jack threw his head back and laughed. The deep, warm kind of laugh that made her chest ache in the best way. Then he sobered. "Is this why they wanted our daughter?" he asked quietly. Alla nodded. "She's proof that interbreeding can happen naturally, without surgical modification, without fertilization chambers, just 2 people." Jack wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "I didn't fall for your DNA, Ayla. I fell for the way you bossed me around like a queen with a blaster." She rested her head on his shoulder. "And I fell for the stowaway who wouldn't shut up." They sat like that a long time. The next planet was an edge world, Stenver 6. Not much to look at. Cold wind, rocky ground, underground settlements that smelled like rust and hope. But it had clean water, food markets, and most importantly, no Zentari presence. They rented a unit from a retired android with one eye and no filters. "You got credits?" it asked. Jack held up a ration chip. "And I can fix your bad wiring." The android scanned him. "You're ugly, but useful." Deal. The place was small. One room, one broken heater, and a shower that screamed like a dying bird every 5 seconds. Their daughter called it singing, Jack called it a war crime, but it was safe. For now, Ayla resumed her old exercises. Silent, controlled, lethal. Jack fixed old systems in town, trading labor for protein blocks and bread that didn't catch fire. He made friends. Quickly. Too quickly one evening. Trader pulled him aside. Tall, cloaked, voice like gravel. "You're the human with the hybrid child." Jack stiffened. "What's it to you?" The trader leaned in. "Word travels. Especially when bloodlines are involved." Jack stepped closer, low voice like steel. "You come near my family and I'll bury you under this outpost." But the trader didn't flinch. Not a threat. Human. "A warning. You think you're hiding, Eddie, but you're glowing in the dark." He turned and vanished into the crowd. Jack returned home, jaw tight. Alla was waiting. She always knew. "We've been marked," he said simply. She nodded. He paced the room. "We keep running. It never ends." "Ack!" Ayla looked up sharply. "Jack, no. Listen. We have something they don't. Heart, will, guts. They build rules. We break them. They want her because she's rare. Let's make her something more than rare. Let's make her unstoppable." Ella stood slowly, eyes shining. "You're thinking like a soldier." Jack took her hand. That night, as they lay side by side on the old mattress, Ayla turned to him. "If I hadn't opened that crate," she whispered, "my life would have stayed safe, predictable, hollow." Jack ran his hand along her waist. "If I hadn't been stupid enough to fall asleep inside a cargo shipment, and I'd never have met a woman who makes war look like poetry." She kissed him, slow, deep, and under the cracked ceiling of that rundown shelter, with wind howling beyond the stone walls. They made love like people who had nothing left to lose but each other. Neither of them said it. But they both knew. The war wasn't coming. It had already begun. Asterisk, the snow on Stenver 6 didn't fall. It drifted sideways, like ash from a dying fire. The winds howled through the outer rings of the settlement, slipping through metal seams and rattling old ducks like angry ghosts. Jack stood outside their shelter, wrapped in an old thermal coat 2 sizes too small for him. He was watching. Watching now, Ayla had warned him. The trader wasn't bluffing. Whispers had started. Human male, Zentari, female, hybrid child. A genetic impossibility to some, an unsanctioned miracle to others. And both of those things were dangerous inside. Alla was helping their daughter read through an old Zentari bonding script, a cultural lesson usually reserved for arranged pairings. But she'd rewritten it, turned it into a storybook. Less tradition, more bedtime tale. "Does Daddy have a bond name?" the girl asked. Alla looked up, met Jack's eyes through the doorway. She smiled. "He doesn't need one. He is one." That night, the wind didn't stop. Neither did the knocking. 3 sharp raps. Then silence. Jack was at the door in seconds, cutter in hand. Les slid their daughter behind the food crate, already palming her shock dash spear. Jack opened the door. 2 figures stood in the snow, tall, cloaked. One with a scanner humming under his glove, the other holding a sealed envelope. No weapons, just something worse. Confidence. The taller one spoke. "Commander Alakathari of the former emissary fleet. You are summoned by the Zintar Reproductive Integrity Council for violation of cross-species purity law." Jack stepped between them. "She's not going anywhere," said the other figure. held up the envelope. "You Jack Rourke of Earth are listed as a contaminating element. You may submit for voluntary sterilization and receive clemency, or resist and be processed accordingly." Jack stared at him. Then he laughed. Quiet at first, then full and loud, like thunder in a small room. "You traveled across space," he said, stepping forward, "to threaten me? Buddy, I've eaten things in vending machines scarier than you." The taller one's mouth twitched. "You misunderstand. This isn't a warning. It's an invitation. Because we both know what your daughter represents." At that, Alice stepped beside Jack, her spear raised. "She is not a subject. She is not a project. She is our child." The wind rose around them. Cloaked figure bowed. "You will change your mind, or we will change it for you." They turned and vanished into the storm. Jack didn't sleep that night. Neither did Ayla. The next day, they moved again, deeper into the mountain channels. Following a tunnel map, Jack had traded from a scavenger who owed him a favor. The settlement was small, no name, no records. A handful of homes built into the cliffside like nesting birds. There was no tech, no scans, just breath. Cold, life. But hiding wasn't living. Ayla knew it. She pulled Jack aside one evening away from their daughter's ears. "I was bred for legacy," she said. "My body was designed to be fertile, pleasing, strong. But never mine, I gave it to duty, to rank, to bloodlines." Jack listened, heart thudding. "But with you," she continued, "I finally had a choice. I chose to carry her. I chose to stay. And I choose now not to run anymore." Jack swallowed. "We're not fighters, Ala. Not anymore." Her eyes gleamed in the dim light. "No, we're parents." He kissed her then, slow and firm, the kind of kiss that didn't rush, the kind that said, "We're still here." That night they held each other tighter than usual, skin to skin, warmth shared like it mattered more than air. The next morning, Ala started training again, harder. She rebuilt her old staff, rebalanced the edge weights. She began teaching their daughter defensive drills disguised as games. Touch the stick, dodge the light. Good, again.
Jack watched,
sometimes amazed, sometimes afraid, not of her. Of how easily love could become war. One night he sat with her on the cliffside, stars above. Silence thick between them. "I don't know if I'm enough," he said. She looked at him. "For what? For protecting you both. For standing against something that wants to own you, own her." She turned his face toward hers. "Jack, you gave up your world, your freedom, your future for us. That's more than enough." Paused. "And also, your genetics make you basically illegal in half the quadrant. So that helps." He laughed again, the sound she lived for. They kissed, stayed close, and in the distance, a cum tower blinked. Faint, but blinking. A signal weak. Hidden. Someone was looking. Jack and Ayla stared at it from their cliffside perch. Eyes sharp, hands intertwined. No more running, no more hiding. If the galaxy wanted to challenge what they had built, they could try, but they'd learn what Jack already knew. You don't mess with a woman who opened a crate, decided to keep the human inside. Asterisk, the signal pulsed for 3 nights before it changed. Not louder, not closer, just cleaner. No static. A deliberate shift in frequency. It was no longer a ghost. It was a message. Jack picked it up with a makeshift receiver built from scavenged heat sinks and an old auto farmer logic core. The words came through one syllable at a time, mechanical and cold. Asset confirmed. Hybrid viable. Prepare for retrieval. He stared at the receiver like it might grow teeth. His hands clenched the edge of the table. Ayla entered the room, just in time to hear the final 3 beeps. She didn't speak. She didn't have to. That night, after their daughter was asleep, they stood at the edge of the cliff, watching the wind swirl over the valley below. The mountains stretched forever, jagged and frozen, beautiful and uncaring. "We can't outrun this," Jack said, voice low. "They know where we are." Ayla's gaze was hard. "Then we make them regret it." Jack exhaled. My mechanic. Allah, I patch things. I don't win wars. She turned toward him, her voice sharp and soft all at once. You built us a life. That's more than any soldier I've ever known. They stayed like that, forehead to forehead, their breath visible. In the cold air, Jack ran his fingers down her back, long and slow, and she leaned into his touch like she always had. But this time, it felt different, not desperate, not rushed. Deliberate that night, they made love slowly, like it was a vow. 8. They were saying with every kiss, if this is the last, then let it be everything. Her body moved against his, in steady rhythm, skin to skin, breath to breath. She whispered in her native tongue, and even though he didn't understand the words, he felt them like fire along his spine. Afterward, as they lay together tangled under the blankets, she placed his hand on her stomach. I want another, she whispered. Jack froze. You sure? Allah nodded, not because of fear, not because of duty, because I want to give life again with you. He kissed her, long, deep, a quiet yes, but neither of them got much sleep. The next morning, there were footprints in the snow, not theirs. Jack followed the trail until it vanished near the outer ridge. No sign of a ship, no movement, just silence and empty air that felt watched. He returned to the house and locked every panel. Then, for the first time in months, he opened the weapons case. Allah saw him and didn't stop him. She was already sharpening. Her old staff, not the ceremonial one, the real one. The one with the hidden plasma edge and the retraction coil built for spinal strikes. Their daughter sensed something too. She stopped asking why they didn't visit the market. She stopped drawing stars and started drawing escape tunnels. Jack didn't correct her that night. Allah asked the question that had been hanging over them since the message came. If they take her, what would they do? Jack didn't answer. She looked at him and her voice cracked. Jack, please. I need to know. He swallowed. Centauri Reproductive Command doesn't raise children. They dissect them, study them, use them for line refinement. If they get her, she becomes. It's an asset, not a person. Ayla's hands shook, then stilled. They won't take her. The next day, the second signal came, this time visual. A hologram flickered to life. In their doorway, not a message, a projection. A Centauri male, robed in council gray, thin, elegant, with eyes like dead glass. Commander Alakathari, you are charged with species contamination, reproductive violation, and failure to report hybrid offspring. You have 72 hours to submit to transfer. Your compliance guarantees the child's comfort. Non-compliance will result in ... correction. Vanished. Jack walked over to where the projection had stood and spit on the floor that night. They made a plan. Jack would take their daughter to the old mining shafts beneath the northern cliffs, a place so cold, so narrow, even thermal drones couldn't scan properly. Allah would stay behind. He hated it, but she insisted. They expect the human to run, she said. They don't expect the warrior to fight. He kissed her hard. Just don't die, not raising her without you. She smiled. I plan to retire with gray hair and a smug husband. You think I'd look good with gray hair? You'll look good older than me, she said. That's punishment enough. They kissed again. One last time, and just like that, they split. Jack moved through the tunnels carrying their daughter wrapped in furs. She was scared but silent. She trusted him. He told her stories along the way. Earth tales twisted into wild versions of truth and myth. Back at the cliff shelter, Allah stood alone and waited. They came at dawn. 3 ships. No markings? Centauri? Black unit armor? Not regular troops? Reclaimers Allah? Stepped out before they even touched down. She held her staff. She didn't bow. The lead unit raised a scanner. No child signature. She's not here. She's not. Yours, Ayla, said calmly. The lead figure stepped forward. You used human seed to produce unregistered life. That is a violation. Ayla's grip tightened. I used nothing. I chose. They moved to surround her. She didn't wait. The first blow shattered a helmet. The second sliced through polymer armor like silk. She moved like fire, every motion sharp, lethal, exact. Staff spinning, body twisting, silver hair whipping in the wind. But there were too many. They overwhelmed her, stunned her, dropped her to one knee. A blade came down, and then sound. Boom, echoing from the cliffs above. They turned to late Jack on a ledge, rifle slung. Eyes full of fury, he jumped down with a roar that cracked the air. Landed hard, crushed one beneath him, fist to face, elbow to neck. It's not graceful. Brutal. Earthborn violence. Allah rose beside him, back to back. "You said you'd run," she shouted. "I lied," he growled. Together they fought. And this time, they didn't just survive. They won. When the last soldier fell, silence returned to the cliff. Allah leaned against Jack, bleeding, breathless. "You idiot," she muttered. "You're welcome," he said, grinning through a cracked lip at their daughter. Found them hours later, guided by a signal Jack had triggered. She ran into her mother's arms, sobbing. Jack crouched beside them both. "It's over," he whispered. "They won't take us again." Allah looked at him. "You sure about that?" Jack smiled. "They can try?" She held his hand tight. Because this time, they weren't just lovers. They were something stronger, unbreakable, together. A family worth fighting for. Asterisk, the bodies were gone by morning. Jack burned them with his last canister of fusion gel. La watched the flames from the cliff's edge, her daughter clinging silently to her leg. The smoke rose thick and black, a warning to the stars above. They knew this wasn't over. Victory bought time, not peace. Alice sat in the doorway of the shelter that night, her face half lit by firelight. Her staff leaned beside her, cracked, scorched, but still whole. Jack walked up behind her, sat down without speaking. Minutes passed. Then she said, "There'll be more," he nodded. "Always more. We'll send diplomats next," she continued, pretending to negotiate, promising safety. "But their hands will be full of needles." Jack looked at her. "What do we do?" She turned to him. "We stop running. We already fought." "No," she said, shaking her head. "We fought to survive. That's different. Now, we build something that outlasts them." Jack raised a brow, a bunker, a message, she said. "A legacy." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You mean, tell the galaxy what happened? I mean, show them what we are. Not experiments, not violations, but the future." Ran a hand through his hair. "We'd have to go public. They'll already know about us. The only thing left is to stop being ashamed of it." He looked at her, eyes full of both pride and fear. What if they come for her again? Allah didn't blink. "Now we don't hide her. We teach her to stand taller than both our worlds ever allowed." The next morning they did something strange. They registered not with the Zentari, not with the Reclaimers, with the Independence Alliance, a neutral colony network made up of outcasts, free thinkers, rogue captains, and broken nations. It wasn't government, it was community. It's dangerous, unfiltered, unpredictable. But free. Jack sent the first message. Human Zentari hybrid confirmed alive. Not for sale, not afraid. If you want to know more, come see us, but come honest. Within 6 hours, the replies started. A medic from the Terran Outer Ring. "We've been waiting for proof. Tell us what you need. A Zentari dissident cell. We'll shelter you. You're not alone." A dozen more, scattered, scared, but listening then. The ping that changed everything. A Zentari matriarch, a caste, marked red for defection. Her message was audio only, voice rich and slow. "I was a mother once, till they took him from me. Because his father was human. I was told to forget. I have archives, data, names. I'll give them to you. Just promise me one thing." Ayla answered. "Name it. Let the galaxy see her face. Let them see she lives. Let them know they failed." That night, Ayla recorded a transmission. Jack held the recorder steady, their daughter asleep on his chest. No edits, no filters, just truth. My name is Ala Katheri. I was bred for service, for status. I was told who to love, when to conceive, what my body was worth. And then I met a man, not chosen by caste or bloodline, but by choice. A human, strong, loud, beautiful. He made me laugh, made me angry, made me real. And with him, I created life. Not as an experiment, as a mother. She paused, voice steady. They told me it was impossible, that she would be defective, that my bond would fail, that I would lose all value. But look at her. Listen to her. She is not broken. She is not a weapon. She is not theirs. Then quieter. She is ours. Jack blinked back the tightness in his throat. They sent the message, spread faster than they expected. A ripple turned into a wave. People they'd never met repeated Isla's name, called Jack the unapproved father. Dubbed their daughter the first hybrid of will, not design. They received threats. Sure. Death orders, buyout offers, even a bounty from an anonymous Centauri biotech firm. But something else happened too. Refugees came. A half-Koran girl with silver hair and her adopted father seeking protection. Terran engineer with a Centauri lover, and a quiet question. How did you make it work, Centauri? Pilot stripped of rank for refusing sterilization, now flying aid drops for rogue colonies. Their home grew crowded. So they built together a YLA, and Jack carved homes into the rock. Jack rewired old life support cores. Dala trained others in defense and diplomacy. She taught their daughter how to hold a staff and how to offer an open hand before raising. It did the child call the place Crate Home because it all started with one box. One accident, one impossible man. One night, months later, as wind swept through the canyon, Jack found Ayla on the ridge again. Same spot, same breeze, different stars. She didn't speak right away. Then she said, "I'm late." Jack blinked. Late for what? She turned smiling and touched her stomach. Late, Jack. He stared at her, then smiled so wide his face ached. Again, she nodded. He stepped close, kissed her forehead. You sure you're ready? He whispered. Ayla rested her hands on his chest. I was born in a system that called me property. But this. She glanced toward the lights of their little village below, the people, the laughter, the new world they were building. Is mine now. Jack kissed her again, slowly, fully, gratefully. I'm not sure the galaxy's ready for another one of us, he said. Allah smirked. Then let's make it two. Above them, the stars kept burning, and below, on a forgotten ridge, on a world not even mapped by most fleets, a smuggled crate, ... became the beginning of something no empire could ever contain. Asterisk Crate Home had grown, no longer just carved shelters and fire pits. It now had working lights, water towers, a field hospital, and a central gathering hall built from salvaged starship hulls. Held festivals under repurposed solar sails. Children played tag between crates, laughing in a dozen languages. There were humans, Centauri, and more, all cast-offs from systems that wanted them erased. Jack stood outside the new nursery dome, paintbrush in hand. He was helping finish the mural on the outer wall. His daughter, now 6, had drawn it. Stick figures, uneven stars, and one very obvious detail. The man was always bigger. Why am I so huge in your drawings? He asked. She grinned, swinging her legs from the scaffold. Maybe because you have big hands and big feet and big. Okay, Jack said quickly. Got it, she laughed. Allah. Watching from nearby, smiled wide, the kind of smile Jack had. Once thought impossible from someone bred to obey, her belly was round again now. Their second child was due any day. And this time, there was no hiding it. No fear. Word of Crate Home had spread far beyond the edges of known trade routes. Some called it a myth, others called it a violation. The Centauri government had gone quiet. Too many sympathizers in their own ranks, too many scandals unearthed by the matriarch who'd helped them. But Jack knew the silence wasn't surrender. It was waiting. The attack came 2 weeks later. No warning, no diplomacy, just fire from orbit. At first they thought it was pirates. Then they saw the ships. Centauri black, no emblems. No beacon codes. Ghost warbirds. Allah was already shouting orders, rallying the defense teams. Jack pulled their daughter behind cover, pressed a weapon into her hands, a small one, fitted to her size. She looked up. "I'm not scared, Daddy." He brushed her hair back. "Good, but I am, so be careful." The battle wasn't long, but it was brutal. They hit the East Ridge first, disabled the water supply, then moved in with anti-thermal armor, trying to take prisoners. Allah met them head-on, staff in hand, her movements sharper than ever. Pregnancy slowed her legs, not her spirit. Jack covered the nursery dome using salvaged mining turrets and an old plasma rifle with one overheating coil. His shot groups were tight. He didn't hesitate, because now, he wasn't just a father, he was a wall. At one point, he saw a soldier sneaking through the side brush, almost invisible. Camo active, Jack didn't call for help, he charged. Man never got back up. By nightfall, it was over. They captured one alive. Ayla interrogated him personally. He broke quickly. "We weren't sent to kill," he said, shaking. "Just to collect data, test defenses, mark escape routes." Jack's jaw clenched. "So the real wave's coming," soldier nodded. Double quotes, "days. Maybe less." That night, the leadership of Kratom met, not just Jack and Ayla, but 12 others. Humans, Centauri, even a cybernetic Jean with one lung and a loud opinion. They argued. Some wanted to evacuate, others wanted to send a message. A few wanted to fight. Jack stood and raised his voice over the crowd. "No more crates," he said, "and no more bunkers. No more pretending this is temporary. We're not running anymore. They want our kids. They'll have to come take them." He paused, "and we'll make sure they don't leave." The room erupted in agreement. The final battle came faster than expected. 3 days later, 13 ships dropped from orbit. No flags, no negotiations. But Kratom was ready. Defense grids powered by Jack's salvaged satellites. Shield domes manually controlled by Ayla's command council. Civilians trained for evacuation. Children already hidden in deep tunnels. And at the front gates, Jack and Ayla stood side by side, her belly round. His rifle humming, answered with ingenuity. Flame traps rigged from pressure cookers. Sonic scramblers disguised as music towers. Auto turrets built into old food dispensers. The battlefield became a maze, and Jack knew every inch of it, but war always costs. By the second night, Allah was bleeding, not from wounds, from labor. She refused to leave the command post. "I'll give birth on the battlefield if I have to," she growled. "Let them see what real legacy looks like." Jack didn't argue. He stood with her, and when the final ship tried to land, he rigged his old shuttle, the same one he'd crash-landed in years ago, and sent it straight into the drop hatch with its reactor core overloaded. The sky lit up like a second sun, and the enemy backed off by morning. Kratom was still, standing, bruised, burned, but whole. And in a small med dome lit by flickering power cells, Ayla gave birth to their second child, a boy. Strong lungs, silver eyes, faint blue shimmer across his skin. Jack held him for the first time. Tears on his face, laughter breaking through cracked lips. "He's got your mouth," he whispered. A Y, exhausted but smiling, whispered back, "Then he'll never shut up."
Waiter.
They stood outside the med dome. Jack with the baby in one arm, Ayla with her staff across her back, and their daughter standing tall beside them, still too young for war, but already more than most would ever be. The people of Kratom gathered. They had one not because of firepower, not because of ships, because of bond, because love chosen, defiant, real, had made them strong enough to defy tradition, biology, an empire. Allah stepped forward and raised her voice. "I was born for obedience," she said, "but I chose rebellion. I chose love, and that love made children, made you. We aren't an accident. We are the proof. We are the future." Cheers rose. A chant began. No more crates. No more chains. No more castes. Later, in the quiet of night, Jack sat with Isla in their rebuilt home, both kids asleep. Stars glowing through the open window. "You remember when you first opened that box?" He asked. Alay leaned against him. "I thought you were a weapon. I thought you were going to shoot me. You were naked," she reminded him. "You were staring." She smiled. Jack kissed her forehead. "Not bad for cargo, huh?" "Not cargo," she said softly. "You were the only thing in the galaxy I ever chose to keep." And outside, beyond their quiet world, the stars watched over a family, human and alien. Galaxy forever. The end.